Brahmaputra River, one of Asia's great waterways, has become far more than a natural wonder. It is the next frontier of strategic rivalry between two of the world's most powerful nations, India and China. Stretching across the Tibetan Plateau and cutting through the Himalayas into India and Bangladesh, the river sustains over 114 million people, feeding farms, powering cities, and defining entire regional economies. In China's Tibet Autonomous Region, it is known as the Yarlung Tsangpo. In India, it becomes the Siang and later the Brahmaputra, before merging with the Ganges in Bangladesh. Yet beneath this shared lifeline lies an intensifying conflict, one not of armies or borders, but of dams, data, and water itself.
At the heart of the dispute lies a simple geographic truth. China controls the river's source. As the upper riparian state, Beijing enjoys an asymmetric advantage, sitting upstream and thus wielding significant influence over the flow of water to India and Bangladesh downstream. Roughly half of the Brahmaputra's basin, about 50.5%, lies within China, compared to 33.6% in India. From a hydrological standpoint, this gives China leverage that is not just physical, but deeply geopolitical. And in July 2025, this advantage took a dramatic turn when Beijing officially began construction of the Medog hydropower station, a mega-project with an estimated capacity of 60,000 megawatts, triple that of the Three Gorges Dam, the world's current largest. Situated near the Great Bend of the Yarlung Tsangpo in Tibet's Medog County, the dam lies alarmingly close to India's border with Arunachal Pradesh, a region already contested by both nations.
The construction of the Medog Dam crystallizes fears that water is becoming the next tool of strategic coercion. India's policymakers worry that in the dry season, when the Brahmaputra's levels are already low, China could restrict water flow to devastating effect. Some Indian estimates warn of potential reductions of up to 85% in dry season water supply, threatening agriculture, fisheries, and the livelihoods of millions in the Northeast. Equally alarming is the opposite scenario: the deliberate release of excess water during political tension or conflict. Such an action could unleash flash floods across Assam and Arunachal Pradesh, an act of environmental warfare with catastrophic human and economic costs. These concerns are not hypothetical. During the 2017 Doklam standoff, Beijing withheld hydrological data that India had long relied on to predict floods, citing technical reasons. To many in New Delhi, this was a clear demonstration of how water data, and by extension, water itself, could be weaponized. Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister Pema Khandu has called the Medog Dam an existential threat to the Siang Valley, warning that it represents both an ecological danger and a national security challenge. In response, India has accelerated its own counter-project, the Upper Siang Multipurpose Storage Dam, expected to generate around 11,600 megawatts of power. The dam would allow India to regulate flows, store water, and mitigate any sudden surges or reductions from China's side. Yet such measures also contribute to an escalating dam race, as both countries rush to secure leverage over the same river. As one Chinese official reportedly quipped online, "Don't do unto others what you don't want done to you." A veiled reminder that water diplomacy is now entangled with power politics. Complicating this tense equation is the absence of a formal water-sharing treaty between India and China. The two nations only maintain a limited expert-level mechanism, ELM, to exchange hydrological data during the monsoon. But this fragile arrangement has often been suspended during times of military or diplomatic strain. Without a binding legal framework, China can pursue dam construction and water diversion projects unilaterally, leaving downstream countries in the dark about how much water they will receive. For India and Bangladesh, this opacity undermines not only trust, but also regional stability, creating fertile ground for miscalculation. Beyond geopolitics, the ecological risks are staggering. The Medog Dam sits in one of the world's most seismically active regions, the eastern Himalayas, where earthquakes are frequent and glacial lakes are unstable. A dam failure, whether triggered by an earthquake or a glacial lake outburst flood, could unleash a humanitarian disaster across the entire Brahmaputra Valley. Environmental experts warn that altering the river's flow and sediment patterns will also damage fragile ecosystems. The Brahmaputra supports more than 200 species of fish, and changes in water temperature, sedimentation, and flow could devastate local fisheries, disrupt agriculture, and force communities to migrate. India's own counterdam is not free of controversy. In Arunachal Pradesh, indigenous communities such as the Adi people have staged protests, fearing that large-scale infrastructure could erase their ancestral lands and cultural identity. For them, the Brahmaputra is not merely a river. It is a sacred being, a living heritage. Thus, the competition between India and China risks turning a natural resource into a human tragedy, where both sides lose more than they gain. At its core, the Brahmaputra conflict reflects a broader global reality. In the 21st century, water is emerging as the new oil, a strategic asset as valuable as energy or technology. As climate change accelerates glacial melt and alters rainfall patterns, water scarcity will become more acute, and countries will guard rivers as jealously as they guard borders. For India and China, two nuclear-armed powers already divided by disputed frontiers, the weaponization of water adds another perilous layer to an already complex rivalry.
There is, however, still room for cooperation. India must focus on strengthening its internal resilience through early warning systems, satellite monitoring, and rapid disaster response mechanisms. More importantly, New Delhi could champion a multilateral approach, perhaps by reviving discussions under the UN Watercourses Convention, or engaging partners in the Quad to promote hydro-diplomacy. A long-term solution would be the establishment of a Brahmaputra River Commission, including China, India, and Bangladesh, dedicated to transparent data sharing, joint studies, and coordinated management.
Ultimately, the fate of the Brahmaputra will hinge on a choice between hydro-hegemony and hydro-cooperation. China's technological capacity and upstream position give it immense power, but using that power responsibly could transform it from a perceived threat into a regional stabilizer. India, too, must balance assertiveness with diplomacy, ensuring that its response defends national interests without escalating into a full-scale water war. The Brahmaputra, the lifeblood of millions, should unite rather than divide. But unless both nations embrace shared stewardship over this vital river, the currents that sustain South Asia could one day become the very forces that drown its peace.